What if I told you, after all your hard work, after all the blood, sweat, and tears, the creation you would put forward could be shot and killed on sight by one website? Our story begins with admiration for a man that changed how action was filmed, choreographed, and incorporated into the story and humor of a film. That man is Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan set out to make great films and to change the perception of martial arts, but unknowingly, he also stole the hearts and minds of children and adults across the globe. Xiandong was one of those children, and this love for Jackie led him to collect all the reviews from Jackie Chan's films as they enter the American market. Using a similar template, he was sparked to build a website that compiled reviews for movies as they came out. On August 12, 1998, Rotten Tomatoes was born, and only 9 days later, the first featured film was posted.
How are you?
Hi. How are you? Hi.
How are you?
How are you? Fine. Nice, isn't it? Very.
Yeah, very.
First time here?
Uh-huh.
You? No, I work here.
Are you an artist?
No, artist assistant. Oh.
Wow. You're really great looking. I bet you're tremendous in bed.
After releasing the reviews for Your Friends and Neighbors, the site blew up overnight. After passing ownership to IGN in 2004, then Flickster in 2010, and ultimately Fandango in February of last year, Rotten Tomatoes has become the de facto review site, averaging 20 million visitors a month since 2013, dwarfing its competitors. Now that we have a bit of the history out of the way, we can dive into the impacts that such a large review site has on the industry, and there is no better place to start than with this quote: "Anything under $1 billion in worldwide box office will be a disappointment."
The greatest gladiator match in the history of the world. God versus man.
Now, why did this happen? Why did a movie that was slated to make over $1 billion, with estimates of $1.2 to $1.4 billion, not even cross the coveted $1 billion mark that all these studios so desperately desire? Well, the movie was bad, of course. Checkmate. Well, that isn't the whole story. Batman v Superman, by all means, isn't a great film, and that plays an important role, but we have examples of films before 2013 and after 2013 that have crossed the $1 billion mark but have not received the best critical or audience reception. From Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest and On Stranger Tides, Transformers 3 and 4, Alice in Wonderland, to the dreaded Phantom Menace. Of the films in the $1 billion club, a quarter are rotten. And I know that the argument for why a movie is in the $1 billion club will be that most of these films are sequels or are from large properties. But by all intents and purpose, Batman v Superman is a sequel to Man of Steel, but more importantly, it is a film with arguably the two most iconic and popular superheroes. But all that popularity changes when most people see the Rotten Tomatoes score. And that isn't a slight at the moviegoer, but a simple fact that going to the movies costs a lot. Imagine being a parent who has to take their family of 5 to the movies. You are easily going to drop $50 to $60 for regular tickets, or $100 to $120 on IMAX 3D, and that isn't including the soda and popcorn you will be undoubtedly nagged for. Since the recession, movie theaters have had a difficult time getting people's butts in the seats, and people have become far more selective of what they see because of their limited funds. And don't let Disney's recent success or Warner Brothers and Universal's occasional success cloud you from realizing that the film industry is still struggling compared to before 2008. Hell, we can just look at last year when every studio tried to release a big blockbuster, which obviously attracted most moviegoers, and unless Disney was next to the name, it didn't meet expectations, financially and in many cases critically, and this is with fewer films being released in 2016 by most studios than years past. Many studios like Sony, Century Fox, Warner Brothers, and Paramount all struggled to make a profit or even break even on many of their films last year. Before the recession, it was almost unheard of for a blockbuster or any film from the major studios, for that matter, to not make a profit.
Oh, hell no, the devil is a liar!
So, getting back to the point, Rotten Tomatoes, for the most part, has now become not only the critical measure of a film, but the value measure. Just like a product on Amazon, the higher the rating, the more likely the individual will view it as worth the purchase. So in the case of Batman v Superman, after the reviews rolled in, its opening box office dropped well below expectations and experienced one of the highest second weekend drops of all time with 69%.
What have you done?
It ultimately raised about $873 million, which may seem good, but for a movie with a budget of roughly $500 million and an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes of 63%, which isn't great for a blockbuster, that simply does not look good from an investor's perspective. And Hollywood has acted accordingly to this massive shockwave and have gotten wise to how much a rotten score can affect their movies and have tried to, at the very least, salvage a good weekend box office.
Clark Kent, Daily Planet.
What's your position on the Bat Vigilante in Gotham?
People might think that this is an old trick, but it really has only originated in the last 5 to 7 years. That trick is to place a review embargo until the film is officially released and is mainly utilized by studios that know that the film is trash and won't make a profit. And they have been doing this even before the consistent blockbuster flops of the past year or so. The most recent major example of this was Fantastic Four, but other films like The Loft, Strange Magic, The Pyramid, and Addicted have also employed this tactic. However, the major flaw with this is that when reviews come out for a film, whether good or bad, there's usually a large spike in social media engagement. While rotten scores absolutely hurt a film, low social media engagement hurt it even more. But since Batman v Superman, things have changed.
There's no going back. You've changed things. Forever.
Studios are now implementing what I like to dub delayed rottenness. This is where studios will give critics that have a higher rate of fresh scores or have given their past films more positive ratings early screenings before the rest of the critics. Many critics on and off YouTube have discussed this phenomenon, such as Grace Randolph, the guys over at Collider, and What the Flick. So, this inflates the initial Rotten Tomatoes scores and subsequently makes the social media surrounding the film more positive. Yes, most films do initially have a higher score before the film comes out, but since Batman v Superman, we have seen more massive fluctuation when before it would only fluctuate at most 7 to 10%, and this tactic is reflected in the scores and the box office. Let's use two recent examples to drive home the point. Ghost in the Shell and Power Rangers were hovering around 65 to 75% in the first day or two after the embargo lifted, and both dropped below 50% around Thursday before release, and that is a key window that these studios are aiming for. If they can get good buzz leading into Thursday and Friday, they can at the very least have a decent box office on those days. As we can see with both these films, they had decent Friday pulls, but as each day went on, they dropped more and more. This is not the norm. Most films see a large or decent boost on Saturday and then a small dip on Sunday. However, both these films failed to meet their estimates, but also are on track to barely break even, and that is the key here. These studios are implementing these tactics in order to beat the Rotten Tomatoes system, but they are failing now more than ever.
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
It may have come across as if I think Rotten Tomatoes is a bad thing, but no. What I hope to highlight in this video is that poor studio decisions and bad films are starting to lose big time. Assassin's Creed, Ghost in the Shell, and hell, even the new Ghostbusters, not too long ago, would have been large financial successes. But in the age of Rotten Tomatoes and social media, these films are struggling more than ever. More importantly, films that are getting good scores and subsequently large social media buzz who wouldn't have otherwise are doing better than ever before. Just look at recent films like Get Out, Split, Arrival, or 10 Cloverfield Lane. Yes, these films are not massive blockbuster successes, but they all had great box office holds and were all very profitable for their respective studios. And that looks good to an investor. So maybe I am being too optimistic here, but I truly believe studios are starting to see that quality filmmaking is more important to their wallets than shelling out money to things that purely play on our nostalgia and on different fandoms, but with none of the substance that attract us to those properties. We can just look at Century Fox, who seem to be really learning this because they saw the flop that was Fantastic Four and learned from their mistake. They realized that people want quality filmmaking first and foremost, and they put their money there. Even though X-Men Apocalypse wasn't a home run, it wasn't as if they intervened with the creation or tried to make it a film that hit each demographic like they did with Fantastic Four. Thus, they've been having a great year.
We can't allow this, Deadpool.
I don't have time for your X-Men bullshit, Colossus. Besides, nobody's getting hurt.
So, next time when you see a rotten film and are upset with the direction of Hollywood, post your score on Rotten Tomatoes, discuss it on social media, and ultimately put your goddamn money where your mouth is. Because with the help of Rotten Tomatoes and you, we could one day be truly proud of the Hollywood we all hold dear.
I can do it a different way.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Hey, I just want to say thank you for watching. This is my first video, so I know it is rough, but please leave advice and subscribe if you are interested. And I would love to hear what you have to say about Rotten Tomatoes. Have a good one.